All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I will be the host today of the Club Executive Advanced Training on District Websites. So yesterday we did host a more basic and beginner-friendly training session. But today we'll be going a little bit more in depth into some of the RI integration information and how that works, synchronizing all your information over to Rotary. I am joined here today by my colleague Robin as my co-host.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you.
Robin will be taking care of the Q&A and any questions that you have throughout the webinar. So as I'm going through all of the different information and through the broadcast, there is a Q&A section of Zoom that you can go ahead and enter in all of your different questions that you have. And Robin will be doing his best to get to all of them and answering any questions that you may have. Towards the end of the webinar, we will be doing a quick live Q&A. So Robin will be taking some time marking some of your questions down and we'll go through and we'll answer them live. We'll go through and answer them live, and we'll give you some examples as we go through that as well. So once again, thank you everyone for joining. And as another quick note before we get started, this webinar is being recorded. So if for any reason you have to jump out maybe halfway through the webinar, maybe you have to go attend to the kids, or you have something, an emergency come up or anything like that, no sweat. The recording will be made available after our changeover training sessions have been concluded on our clubrunnersupport.com website. So with all that said, we will go ahead and get started. So some of the topics that we will be covering today we'll mainly be focusing on RI integration and how that pertains to the managing of your membership. So we'll go through how you can turn on and enable RI integration. We'll talk about how you can go about performing any membership updates and how that will synchronize over to Rotary International automatically, as well as going through and reviewing some of the various different areas like the updates archive, the compare and synchronize tools, so that you can truly understand exactly what's going on and what information is being processed as well as when. And then as a final item, we will be talking about some of the more common RI integration issues that you might run into while you're going through and updating all of your membership information. And as I did mention before, the webinar is being recorded. So if you do run into anything, you need to hop out, it'll be made available for you later on. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and open up the account that we will be working on today. So once again, this is using the district version of Club Runner. So if you have your own subscription, we will be hosting another session later on in the changeover training webinar, which will pertain to some more information specifically for you. But for clubs that don't necessarily have their own Club Runner subscription and are making use of the district's website, we'll be going through and taking a look at the various tools that are available to you. So as you can see, we are logged into the district here. And as a note, this is a development environment, development and testing environment for our team over here at Club Runner. So we might run into a couple of errors every so often, just kind of navigating around. Things might be in a different place than they are normally, or they might be worded slightly differently. But all of the steps that we're going to be talking about today should be exactly the same as it would be on your own district websites. But I did want to point that out to everyone, just in case we do run into a little bit of slowness here or there, or if there are any errors that might come up. It is because we are in a testing environment. You shouldn't run into any of these issues on your own. So the very first thing that I wanted to talk about with everyone is, what is RI integration? RI integration is a very important and useful feature that is within Club Runner that lets you go about managing your membership within one location. Typically, if you don't use RI integration for your own clubs, I would recommend getting it set up. By default, without any RI integration enabled, whenever you make or change some pieces of your membership information, Say you add a new member to your club, you terminate a new member, or a member just updates some of their contact information within ClubRunner or on Rotary's own systems, the two systems won't be able to communicate, meaning that any change made in ClubRunner or any change made in my Rotary, they won't be talking to each other. So they'll have to be made twice in both different places. However, with RI integration, this will allow you to make it so that if you make a change in ClubRunner, that change will also be made in my Rotary and Rotary systems as well. So say, for example, a member goes ahead and updates their email address in ClubRunner. Rotary International will have that exact same information updated on their end as well. So that's why we highly recommend enabling RI integration, which I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do right now. So we've already logged into our district. So we need to go ahead and navigate to the RI integration settings page. In order to do that, in this top blue navigation menu, and actually let me zoom in just a little bit to make this a little bit easier for you to see. There we go. So in this top blue navigation menu, we're going to go ahead and click on the For Clubs tab. And then in this For Clubs tab, we're going to go ahead and find the RI integration option in the secondary navigation menu that's right below it. So for me, it's located right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button. And this will bring us to the RI database integration for our club. And if we scroll down just a little bit, you can see that there's some instructions that are here for you. Mainly, this is to go through and enable RI integration on Rotary's end first. This is two-way communication. So in order for any information to go between ClubRunner and Rotary or the opposite direction, we will need to make some changes to your club's information on Rotary's end first. Mainly, this is selecting ClubRunner as what's called a club management vendor. This will allow your club in your ClubRunner account in ClubRunner to synchronize with your club on Rotary's end. All of the steps are outlined here. You'll need to go ahead and navigate to the Member Center, go to your club information section where you can manage your club, and then you can update your club data by selecting ClubRunner as a management vendor. And once that's all been done, it might take up to 24 hours for that change to be finalized. But once that's been done, you will typically be able to come back over to this page in ClubRunner, where you will now see this yellow box that is available here. Inside this box, you'll find a checkbox that you can click to switch on data integration between ClubRunner and RI for all active member records within your club. So all we're going to need to do is click on this checkbox once it's been made available for us. We'll see a nice little loading icon to indicate that it's processing. And once it's done, the page will refresh. And you can see we now have the RI integration status box over here that is available as read and update. Now, there's a couple of different statuses that might appear here. Right now, we see read and update, which means that ClubRunner is able to read the information that's available in Rotary's databases, and we can go through and we can update the information in Rotary's databases. The other status that you might see is read-only integration. If you have read-only integration, that means that ClubRunner will only be able to see the information in Rotary and will be able to pull that information into your ClubRunner account, but you won't be able to go the opposite direction. So whenever you update membership in ClubRunner, it won't automatically go over into to Rotary systems. So it's important to understand which RI integration status you have and how that will affect what you can do with it. If you do notice that you have read-only integration, but you do want to have read and update privileges, usually that means that you've selected ClubRunner as a secondary management vendor rather than the primary management vendor that you can select in My Rotary. So just quickly double check that in your your Manage My Club settings in My Rotary, just to make sure that everything is set up correctly. If not, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be glad to see if there's anything on our end that we can take a look at. Now, we've gone ahead, we've checked this checkbox, and we've now enabled RI integration. But there's a couple of other settings that we should take a look at while we're on this page as well. First, if we scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the Choose Club RI Integration privacy settings that are available down here at the bottom. This will allow you to change the various different pieces of information that can be synchronized between ClubRunner over to Rotary. So, for example, we have the option to allow birthday, allow home address, business addresses, cell phone numbers, fax numbers, as well as your email. So if there's any pieces of information that you don't want shared between ClubRunner, from ClubRunner over to Rotary, make sure that you uncheck these checkboxes. So for example, we don't want to share our birthdays. We can uncheck allow birthday. If we don't want to allow our cell phone to be synchronized, we can uncheck allow cell phone. And the exact same thing with allow primary email address. With these unchecked, we can then scroll down just a little bit further and click on Update Privacy. And this will make it so that these pieces of information that we unchecked will not be synchronized from ClubRunner over to Rotary International. For now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave all of these checked. And I'm going to update our privacy once again. The next option that we have here is the Rotary Integration Notification Contact. Every so often, when you're working with RI integration and you're making changes to your membership, you might run into an issue where something doesn't synchronize quite right. Say, for example, you've updated the email address of one of your members, but that fails to get synchronized over to Rotary. When this happens, an email will be sent out to the Rotary Integration Notification Contact, which will allow you to, or which will send you a notice that that issue had occurred, and it will give you some additional information to where you can go and resolve those issues. By default, it will go ahead and send those emails over to the current year secretary. If your club doesn't have a current year secretary set within your executives and directors page, it will then look at the previous year's, or sorry, the next year's secretary. If that hasn't been entered, then it will go to the previous year's secretary. And then if that doesn't happen, it will then go through the presidents in the exact same order. So it's important to go here and select the role or individual that you want to receive these pieces of information. So for example, if we want the president to receive these notices, we can go through and we can select the president, or we can go through and select an individual club. Now, I would usually recommend setting it to a specific, executive role, because after every year, the position can change and it will automatically be updated to the individual that holds that position. If you select an individual member, you will manually need to go in and update this setting every year whenever that changes. So I usually like leaving it as the club secretary, or you can allow it to select automatically if you want it to just to follow the rules that's outlined in this paragraph here. I'm going to go ahead and select secretary for now and go ahead and click save. So now we've gone through and we've enabled RI integration. We've gone through and we've set up our privacy settings, and we've also set up our Rotary International contact, who will receive all of the different notices regarding any errors that we might run into. So now that we have Rotary integration enabled, what exactly can you do with it? Well, the big thing that I like to talk about is your membership management. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and add a new member to our club. So in this top new blue navigation menu, we're going to go ahead and click on For Clubs, which we already have here. And then we'll go ahead and click on Membership Lists. This will bring us to the active members list page, where we can then go ahead and click on Add New Member. This information should all have been covered in yesterday's webinar for the beginner district executive training. Club executive training. So this should all be, if you've attended that session, this should all be familiar to you. So we can go through the exact same process where we can select the membership type. We can enter in a sponsor of the member, a Rotary member number if you have one, select the date that they joined the club, and we can go through and enter all of their details as well. But there is another option that we have here, which is integration options. With RI integration enabled, we now have access to these two different options. So we can now select whether we want to report the new member to Rotary International, or if we do not want to report the member to Rotary International. By default, the report option will be selected. So if we were to go through and we enter in the details for our new member, let's say John William Smith here is joining our club. We can go ahead and enter in all of their details. So let's just go ahead and quickly do that. So we've gone ahead and entered their details. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, confirm everything else. We're just going to turn off this email notification for now, since we're not giving them an email address at this moment. We will go ahead and click on Add Member. The system will process. And once it's done processing all this information, we'll be brought directly to that new member's profile. And now that we have RI integration enabled, we've not only created the record for John William Smith here in our club runner records, all of this information is being sent over to Rotary International, and they're adding John William Smith as a member of our club on their end as well. Now, you might have noticed that we did not assign a Rotary ID to this member when we were going through and entering their details. This system will automatically generate a Rotary ID number for the member. It might not happen immediately. It could take a couple minutes to a couple hours for it to process. It depends on how busy the system is. But once that's been sorted, we will be able to go into the Rotary section, and under here, Rotary member number, we will see that Rotary ID listed automatically. So right now we don't have it listed quite yet since it's still processing, but we will come back here later on in the webinar and we'll see exactly the Rotary member number that was assigned to this new member. Now, the exact same thing can be done in the opposite direction. If we have an existing member, but we want to terminate their membership, say they've left the club, they no longer want to participate in Rotary, or they are moving to a new club, we can also terminate that individual's membership. So let's go ahead and navigate back to the active members list. So again, we're going to go ahead and click on 4 clubs in the top blue navigation menu, and then membership lists just below it. And this will bring us directly back to that active members list page here. So let's go ahead and select one of our active members here. Let's take Cindy Roberts here. Cindy has moved away from our area and they are joining a new club. So we can go ahead and click Change Status here, Terminate Membership, and you'll have exactly the same options. So you can select the date that they're terminated as a member. You can select the reason for their termination. So in this case, we can select they've moved. And then you'll see the exact same option down here at the bottom, whether you want to report the termination to Rotary International, or if we do not want to report the information to Rotary International. So in this case, we can we can go ahead and leave this selected as report the termination. And then we can go ahead and click Terminate Member. Now, once the system has gone through, it's processed all of these changes for us, you'll be brought right back to the active members list. And if we navigate over to the inactive members list on the left-hand side, let me zoom in a little bit more. I can see that it's a little small. We're going to go ahead and click inactive members list on the left-hand side here. And we'll be able to, once we go through this list, we'll be able to find the member in here. So now just to prove, let's go ahead and take a look at that member that we have just added, John William Smith. So I'm going to go back to the active members list page just to double check to make sure that it's still that it's gone through successfully. So I'm going to sort by RWs just so I can go over to John, open up his profile, over into his Rotary tab. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's gone through quite yet. So we can actually take a look at the current status of the changes that we're making by taking a look at what's called the RI Integration Updates Archive. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So in our top menu under For Clubs, we'll be able to find RI Updates Archive here. And if we go ahead and click on that, let's see if this works. We'll click on that and the system will load. And once that's loaded, we'll be able to see the exact status of everything that's been going through. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, it looks like this is the wrong page. This is an older version of it. Once again, this is a testing environment for our membership. Give me 1 second. I'm going to reload the web browser that I'm in. This is a testing environment, so some things are working a little bit differently. So just give me 1 moment here. I'm just going to open up this page really quickly while I fix this up. So just give me 1 moment. There we go. So I've gone ahead and I've reloaded the website that we are taking a look at. And you should see that we are now back on the home page. So once again, we're going to go into our For Clubs tab here. And then we're going to go ahead and click on Club Updates Archive. Sorry. Actually, the option doesn't seem to be listed here. Sorry about that, everyone. So this is actually not an update, an option that's available for us. But let's go ahead. I'm thinking of the club version. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Members Updates Archive while we are here. So this is a big list of all of the changes that we've made. So we can see all of the history of our information. So we can see previously we've added a new member, Martha Oracle here, which in this case was skipped because our integration was disabled. We can see a whole whack of club members that had been terminated, as well as some other changes that are here. So if you want to double check to make sure that everything is going through, you can take a look at this page as well. Unfortunately, that the RI integration updates queue doesn't seem to be available in our testing environment right now at this time, but it is something that will be available to you within the club version. So we've gone through and we've taken a look at we've enabled our integration, we've checked all of the settings for it, we've added a member, and we've terminated a member. But in the same vein, you can also go through and update the members themselves. And now we can also take a look at the Compare and Synchronize tool, which is another really strong option that is available for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So in the top blue navigation menu, we're going to go ahead and click on For Clubs. And then we're going to go ahead and click on RI Member Synchronization. This will go ahead and bring us to this Compare and Synchronize tool for us. And we'll see a big list. Actually, let me see, this seems a little bit too big. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. We can see a big list of members under what's called the Members in Sync section. If we scroll down, we can see a list of all of our members that are currently within the system. And we'll see everyone in here is perfectly synchronized. But if we scroll down just a little bit, we'll see some other options, or other sections, I should say. There is the member name mismatches, the member type mismatches, as well as the members missing in RI section and the members missing in Club Runner section. So these are all of the different areas that you can come in and take a look to see the exact status of your club's information and how in sync your data is with Rotary International. So everyone in the members in sync section, they will go through and they will take a look at, everyone in the members in sync section is listed as they are correctly synchronizing with Rotary. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the information in their profile is completely up to date and everything's matching. It just means that the communication between their record in Club Runner and their record on Rotary's databases has been made. So for example, if we go ahead and click on Edic Bartel's profile here, we'll go ahead and click on the compare action. It will bring up a big list of all of their information within both systems for us to review. If we scroll down just a little bit, we can see all of the different pieces of information along the left-hand side here. So we have their name, their sponsors, date joined the club, Rotary, their addresses, all of this information is listed here. And we'll also see two other columns. One is titled Club Runner and one is titled Rotary International. The Club Runner column will list all of the information that is currently available for this member within within their Club Runner profile. So everything that's listed on this left-hand side is what your club currently has on this member within the Club Runner or the district's Club Runner website. On the other hand, we have the Rotary International column. This is all of the information that is currently available on Rotary International's website and their databases. So you can take a look and compare what information is different between the two systems. And what's great about this tool is if you notice any discrepancies between the two pieces of information, we can go ahead and we can synchronize them so that we can get them to match up. So for example, here we have the Edic's middle name here. We currently have it listed as Marcel in Club Runner, but Rotary International doesn't have this information. And in the same vein, the sponsor in Club Runner is listed as Monica Bradley, but they don't have that information in Club Runner. The date joined club and date joined Rotary, actually in this case, it's specifically just the date joined Rotary is off. In Club Runner, it's set as April 20th. Rotary International has it as July 12th, 2022. So we also see a difference in the address here as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to synchronize this information between the two systems so that we can get it to add up. Now, how do you tell it which way you want that synchronization to occur? Do we want to send Marcel, the individual's middle name Marcel, over to Rotary International and have their systems update? Or do we want to take the information that Rotary has and bring it into Club Runner? You might have noticed that there is a third column that is in between Club Runner and Rotary International, where we have these two arrows and these equal signs. And this is how you can determine how this information flows between the two systems once we go ahead and synchronize. If we go ahead and click on one of the arrows in the center, we'll be able to change the direction that it faces. So the blue arrow that is currently pointing to the left or pointing to the Club Runner section, once we go ahead and synchronize our information, it will then pull the information from Rotary International and pull it into Club Runner, and it will update that member's profile once we've synchronized everything. And the same goes for the other direction. If we were to click this arrow and we make it point to the right, the information in Club Runner will then be taken and pushed to Rotary International, and it will be used to update their systems. So let's go ahead and we can set this up for the information that we have available to us. So we want, for Edic's middle name here, we want to send that information to Rotary International. We want to send the sponsor of Edic here to Rotary International to make sure that's all updated. Right now, Rotary doesn't have this information whatsoever, so we want to make sure that we can get that over to them. The date joined Rotary in this instance, This information can't be edited by Club Runner, so this can only be used to pull that information from Rotary International and update Club Runner. So these ones are grayed out. You can't actually click on these. So we'll leave that as is. And then for the address in this case, 46 Behringer Lane. This is an incorrect address in this case. So we want to use 123 Sesame Street, which Rotary currently has. We're going to go ahead and just click on this so that it points to the left, meaning it'll pull the information from Rotary to Club Runner. And once you've gone through and you've selected all of the information that you want to synchronize by selecting them in the checkboxes along the left-hand side here, as well as indicating which direction you want that information to flow, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can click on Synchronize Selected Fields. So you'll get a quick little pop-up saying, are you sure you want to synchronize the selected data? The action won't be able to be undone. So once you go ahead and click here, the process will be in motion and all of these changes will start to be processed. So let's go ahead and click on OK. And the page will then go ahead and refresh to where we can see what information is starting to process. So the page has refreshed here. And if we scroll down, you can see that for a number of the different items that we have this here scheduled for integration in the next 24 hours. So sometime in the next 24 hours, this information will then be synchronized over to Rotary. Usually this will only take a couple of minutes. Sometimes it could, depending on how busy it is, it can take up to 24 hours. So if you don't see any changes immediately, please do go ahead, wait that 24 hours. If you are still running into issues and it's not appearing to synchronize for whatever reason, you can feel free to reach out to our support team and we can take a closer look to see if we can be of any further assistance to find out what might be going on. If you noticed, you might have seen that the middle name and the address has already been updated as well. So the information has already been synchronized. The one that we're waiting for is just the sponsor because you see we still have this information. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of those issues that we saw on the Compare and Synchronize page a little bit earlier. So let's go ahead and navigate back. So we're just going to go ahead and click back to RI Compare and Synchronize in the top right corner. Let's go ahead and we can scroll back down to this page. And we'll go to the next section here, the member name mismatches. So listed under this section, you'll find Cheryl Rockbell here. You'll see that their name in Club Runner is listed as Cheryl Rockbell, but their name in Rotary is Cheryl with an A at the end, and their last name is listed correctly. So there's been a typo within this individual's name. So we want to go ahead and we want to make sure that this is updated. So we can do the exact same thing that we just did for the member we were looking at. We're going to go ahead and click on the compare action for Cheryl. And this will bring up the exact same page that we were just looking at, where we can compare the information that's different between the two systems. And then we'll do the exact same thing. We will have our first name here, where you can see in Club Runner, it's listed as Cheryl. And then Rotary International has their name, but with the typo added at the end. So we want to update Rotary International's information so that Cheryl is what is used in their systems. The arrow is already pointed in the right direction. So again, just to reiterate, if the arrow is pointing to the left, the blue arrow is pointing to the left, the information will be pulled from Rotary International and used to update that member's profile in Club Runner. But if you have the orange arrow pointing to the right, you will be able to take the information in Club Runner, send it over to Rotary International, and they will update their systems with that new piece of information. So we'll go ahead and leave this as it is. So we'll send Cheryl over to Rotary International to update the name. And we'll go ahead and click Synchronize Selected Fields. Again, you'll get the same pop-up box confirming whether you want to proceed or not. And then we'll click OK. The system will process all of that information. It'll package it up nicely, send it over to Rotary International. And exactly the same, you can see we have these scheduled for integration in the next 24 hours. So As the system continues to process it, this information will be sent over to Rotary International, and it will be updated in their systems once this has all been sorted out. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next section that was appearing on the Compare and Synchronize page. We'll go ahead and click on Back to RI Compare and Synchronize. Then we'll go ahead and scroll back down. We still see Cheryl here listed under member name mismatches because that change is still being processed by Rotary. But once that has been updated, this entire section will disappear and everything will be, and Cheryl's record will be moved to the members in sync section. So don't be alarmed if you're going through and making your own changes within the system if this doesn't update right away. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. We can go ahead and type member, we'll take a look at the member type mismatches here in this case. So Cindy Roberts is currently listed as an X member. If we take a look at the CR member type, they are listed as an X member within Club Runner. But in Rotary, on Rotary systems under the RI member type, Rotary International member type, they are currently listed as a member. So this is a case that can happen sometimes when a change that is made to a specific member's record isn't properly synchronized and it doesn't make its way over to Rotary International, or a change, or for example, that do not report to Rotary International option when changing a status of a member has been selected. So in this specific case, however, Cindy was a previous member of the club who had left the area, but has recently moved back. So in Rotary systems, they've already been updated to be a member, but not in Club Runner quite yet. Their record is still terminated and they are still unable to, and they're still listed as an X member. So we can go ahead and we can quickly update this so that Cindy's record is properly synchronized. We'll go ahead and click on Edit Profile for Cindy. And we'll go ahead and update all this information so that everything is correct. It'll pull up Cindy's profile for us, where we can then go over to the Rotary section of their profile, where we will find the membership type section here. We'll go ahead and click Change Status. And then we're going to go ahead and activate their membership, since we want Cindy to be an active member of the club since they've moved back and rejoined. We'll click Activate Membership once again. And we'll go ahead and pull up this page where we can enter in the details regarding their new membership status. However, so we can go ahead and enter in this information. And we'll notice that Notify Our Rotary International has already been set to report the status changed to Rotary International. But, however, we noticed that Cindy is already listed as an active member of the club when we were taking a look at that membership type mismatch section of the Compare and Synchronize page. So if we were to go ahead and report this status change of activating Cindy's profile to Rotary International, you'll end up getting an error message back to your Rotary integration notification contact that we discussed previously. It'll send them a message saying, hey, we weren't able to activate this member, but that was because they were already activated as a member in the first place. So in cases like this, we'll want to go ahead and use the Do Not Report the Status Change to Rotary International, which will help us go through and prevent extra error messages that we don't necessarily need from occurring in the first place. So in this specific case, we'll go ahead and select Do Not Report the Status Change to Rotary International, and then we'll go ahead and click on Activate Membership. Now, let's go ahead and navigate back to our Compare and Synchronize page. I'm just going to quickly navigate to the director link. And then we'll be able to scroll down. And if we filter our records and search for Cindy's name, you can see that they are no longer showing up in the member type mismatch section. It's no longer listed there. But they are now listed in the members in sync section. So that their system is all set up and all good to go. The next section that we see on this page here is members missing in RI. as well as the members missing in Club Runner section. So any members that are listed in these specific areas, these are usually because their information exists in one system, but not the other. So Dale Guacormo here, Martha Orico, and John William Smith, which we did add earlier, they are synchronizing. Their information hasn't been updated quite yet, so they are still showing up here. And Winora Staub, they are in one system, but not the other. Dale and Martha, they have their information already updated within Club Runner systems, and then but not in Rotaries. And then Gwinora down here, they are listed as an active member of the club in Rotary systems, but they don't have a record at Club Runner's end. So what we can do here is we can go through and just click on the Add Member to RI action listed for each of these members. And if we do that, we'll go ahead and get a nice little pop-up. Are you sure you want to add this member to RI? Okay, we do want to send Dale's information over to Rotary. And then you can see you get a nice little confirmation message. The request to add Dale Guacormo to RI has been successfully scheduled. So it doesn't happen right away. It can take a little bit of time for that process to change, or for that information to be changed. But the request has been put in, and after about 24 hours or so, it can happen earlier than that. Sometimes it happens almost instantly. But again, sometimes it can take up to 24 hours. Dale will be added as a member of the club, barring any issues that might occur. So let's go ahead and go back, scroll back down a little bit. So we can do the exact same thing for Martha here. We'll go ahead and add member to RI. Now, this is an error message that you might see come up. The date join club must be within the past 30 days. Now, this is a rule on Rotary's end, where any new member of the club, or any change, I should say, to your membership, a member's membership status, whether they are a new member or they are being terminated from the club, that update must be reported to Rotary International within 30 days of the official date of the new member addition or the member termination year. So Martha, if you click on this again, if we're seeing this error, that means the date join club field that we have here in their member profile is currently outside of this 30-day window. So they actually won't be able to go through and be added to the club quite yet. If you do run into this issue, all that really needs to be done in this specific case is we can go to Martha's profile by clicking on the name in the Compare and Synchronize page. This will bring us directly to their profile, where we can go ahead and start updating their information. So we're going to want to go to the Rotary tab in this case, and you can see that both the date join club and date join Rotary fields are listed as February 1st, 2023, which is outside of that 30-day window. So all we're going to do here is we're going to click on the edit button for this member, and we're going to change it to a date within the last 30 days. So let's go ahead and set it to, let's set it to April 6th, just for the sake of the example. I'm actually just going to copy and paste this over to the date join Rotary as well. And we'll go ahead and click Save. Now, this will update the date in their profile. And we can now navigate back to that Compare and Synchronize page. We'll go ahead. I navigated directly to the link to it just to avoid any potential issues with our testing environment. We're going to go ahead and scroll back down. We will find Martha's record here. And we'll go ahead and click on Add Member to RI. Now, this time we don't see that error message pop up. We now are prompted with that same, are you sure you want to add this member to RI message that we saw before? So we'll go ahead and click OK. And we see we now have that exact same confirmation message that we saw when we added the other member to Rotary International. They have been scheduled to be added to the club as a member on Rotary's end. And again, this can take up to 24 hours for it to process sometimes, depending on how busy the system is at the time. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the very last section that we have here, members missing in Club Runner. So Gwenora Stomp here, they have a Rotary ID that's listed, and they are listed as an active member of the club in Rotary systems, since it's listed as member here under RI member type. But there's nothing listed here under CR member type. So they don't have a record in Club Runner systems. So what we can do is we can pull the information that Rotary currently has on Gwenora here, just by clicking on Add Member to Club Runner. You'll be asked, are you sure you want to add this member to Club Runner? This will take effect immediately. So once we click OK, this information will automatically be grabbed from Rotary, and it will create a new member profile within your Club Runner database. So let's go ahead and click OK. And in just a moment, we should see that the page will refresh, and Gwenora's information will be automatically taken over from Rotary and updated within Club Runner. If we scroll back down, you should see that members missing in Club Runner section is no longer listed. And now we should be able to find Gwenora in the members in sync section, as we see here. So Gwenora, we've taken that record and we've automatically created a profile for her. So their information has all been pulled over. And if we click on their profile once again, or if we click on the compare action, let's do that instead actually, we'll be able to go in and we can see exactly all of the information that was pulled over. So Gwenora's name was successfully pulled over. Their gender, which is set to prefer not to identify, it's all matching. All of this information is now matching. That's because we did exactly what I said earlier. The information that was already listed in Rotary systems was pulled and used to create a record for Gwenora within the Club Runner database. So I'm sure you've been able to, you can see the compare and synchronize tool is a really powerful tool and a really helpful tool for you to use to ensure that your club's information is all accurate. You can go through any changes that might not have been able to get sent over to Rotary right away, or any changes that were made in Rotary systems but weren't necessarily made in Club Runner systems. You can use this compare and synchronize tool to compare that data and then synchronize, hence the name compare and synchronize, all of that information over to Club Runner and over to Rotary International, which will help make everything match up and everything run peachy smooth. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other tools that are available for us. We've talked a lot about how you can go about updating your membership information as well. Now, let's take a look at some of the other tools that are available to you as well. So let's scroll back up to the top of the page here, and we're going to take a look at the executive compare and synchronize page here too. This is very similar to what we just looked at, but this will allow you to make sure that your club's list of club executives is matching as well. So in that exact same For Clubs tab, we're going to go ahead and we're going to find the executive compare and synchronize button that's listed here. And we'll go ahead and click on that. And now we can see a big list of everyone that's listed as an executive for us. So you can see that currently in Club Runner systems, the club president is not currently listed, but we can see the president in Rotary systems currently listed as Don Cheetahs. The club secretary looks to be matching up perfectly fine. There looks to be a discrepancy between what's listed in Club Runner and what's listed in Rotary for the club treasurer. And it looks like everything's perfectly fine for our executive secretary, James Tortlesmith. But it also looks like Rotary International is missing the information on who our club membership share is. Of course, you might notice some of the other positions aren't even filled out in the first place, but they are matching, so that's all perfectly fine in terms of this tool. If you want to narrow this down just a little bit, you can go ahead and select the show positions option and set it to only errors and mismatch. Now, if we do that and click on the refresh button, it will hide any pieces of information that are matching up and are all good to go. And it will only display the ones that have errors and the ones that aren't matching up. So let's go ahead and let's fix these. So we want to update the club president, the club treasurer, and the club membership chair to make sure that all of this information is matching up exactly how we want it to. So the club president is in fact Don Cheadles. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that that arrow that we have here, so it works exactly the same way as in the compare and synchronize tool we just looked at for our members. It works exactly the same way here. So we're going to make it so that the arrow points to the left. And so that will pull information from Rotary into Club Runner. The club treasurer, we want to update so that Vincent Valentine here is the club treasurer instead of Janet DeCamper Smith. So we're going to make it so that the arrow points to the right. The last error that we have here is the club membership chair for Jane Doe. We're going to go ahead. Rotary doesn't have this information, but Jane Doe is our club membership chair. So we'll go ahead and leave this out as it is, and we'll send that information over to Rotary. So we're going to go ahead and click on the Synchronize Selected Positions page here. We've got a nice quick little pop-up. Once you press OK, this information will all be synchronized over to between the two systems. So we'll click OK here, and we'll go ahead and have that all updated. So it looks like there was an error here for our membership chair that didn't go through just because of a name discrepancy. So we can go ahead and fix that. But for now, let's go ahead and leave this as it is. We can see that our club president is no longer listed here. So if we go back to show all position, you now see that Don Cheadles is listed in both systems. In this case, the club treasurer, where we updated it to Vincent Valentine, has not been synchronized over quite yet, but it did go through successfully. Just like the other compare and synchronize tool that we ran into, it can take up to 24 hours for these changes to fully take place, but the changes will go through. And again, if you don't see any changes after 24 hours, you can always feel free to reach out to our support team, and we'll be glad to take a look at that as well. So now let's take a look at another section that we have here. We've gone through, we've updated our club membership, we've updated our club executives, and we've synchronized all of that information. Now, another thing that we can do is we can synchronize our club information as well. So under the For Clubs tab, we're going to go ahead and click on the Edit Club Information page. And this should bring us to some more of our information. Let's see here. So we have our meeting information here. Let's go ahead and click on Edit Club Info online as well. And this should bring us to the correct page. So there we go. We have access to our club details, our contact information, as well as our meeting information, which we are able to synchronize over to Rotary. So let's go ahead and edit our meeting information. Go ahead and click Edit. And now we can go through and we can update all of this information for us as well. If you noticed, there is a little icon here next to the meeting schedule here. What day and time does our club meet? As well as under our meeting location. If you see this icon when you're editing your club information, this will indicate what information is synchronized over to Rotary International. So what day and time does our club meet? We used to meet at Tuesdays, but we've changed it to Thursdays at the exact same time. So we can go through that. We still meet at the exact same meeting location, except let's not change our meeting comments. But Jeff's House at Pancakes here, they've actually moved addresses. They've moved one building down. So they are now 2061 Winston Park Drive. So we want to make sure that all that information is available for our members. You can go through, update all the information that you need, And once again, any information that is highlighted by this article will, once we click on the Save button, will go ahead and be synchronized over to Rotary systems as well, and have this updated in both locations at the exact same time. So we'll go ahead and click Save. And now all of those changes that we just made, the date of our meeting, as well as the address of our meeting location, will now be synchronized over to Rotary, in addition to the changes that we just made on our own club information within ClubRunner. Now, how can you go through and see some of these changes that might have gone through? How can we look at like a history of the changes that we've made and what has been synchronized over to Rotary? And the answer to that question is yes, we can. I actually showed you this a little bit earlier while we were navigating around. We can look at what's called the Member Updates Archive and the Club Updates Archive. This will provide us with a big history of all of our different changes that we've made that have been synchronized over to Rotary. So let's navigate there really quickly. In the top blue navigation menu, we're going to click on For Clubs. And then in the secondary navigation menu here, let's go ahead and visit the Member Updates Archive, which you did see just a little bit earlier. If you take a look, you can see we have the option to, we have a big history of everything that's been changed, which we did see a little bit earlier, but we didn't go super in depth into this page. So I wanted to explain this just a little bit more. So as the changes that you synchronize over to Rotary are made, a record will be posted within this updates archive so that you have a record of it if you ever need to come back and take a look at what might have happened. So for Martha Orico here, the other day on April 16th, we added them as a new member, but that information was skipped due to club privacy settings. So this will usually indicate that RI integration was either disabled at that time, or the option to not include Martha or to not report Martha was selected in that case. If we scroll over to the right just a little bit, we can see the date that this record was added to the system, who the change was made by. So it was made by Vincent Valentine here. And then we can also click on this details link to see some more information regarding that specific change. So we can see some more of the details regarding the member, Orico Martha here. The update type was we were adding them as a new member. When the change was made, the status of the change, so it was skipped due to club privacy settings, as I said before. We can see the details regarding what who made the change, and we can see some other options, some additional information in the comments. So the report to RI option is unselected. So as I mentioned earlier, this was the new member addition for Martha here was skipped due to club privacy settings, and that could be either because RI integration was disabled at the time, or what happened in this case, the report to RI option was unselected. So when Vincent was going through and adding Martha's details to ClubRunner, he specifically selected the do not report this member's addition to Rotary International. And then if we scroll down, we can see exactly what information was sent over to Rotary. So we gave them their name, we gave Martha's gender, their address here as well as all of this other information about the member. If we click close and we scroll down just the page a little bit more, we can see some other examples of changes that had gone through. So we have a number of members here that seem to have a little bit of gibberish as their name. Again, this is a testing environment for our club, so some of the data and information in here may not look 100% accurate to what you might see in your club's own systems. But these members, they were all terminated, and you can see that the status for these individuals is set to complete, and the update has been completed successfully. So these members were terminated in ClubRunner, and that termination had been synchronized and processed over to Rotary systems, where they were then terminated as a member of the club there as well. And for the exact same thing, we can go ahead and click on the details to see some more information regarding that request. So we have the member name here, the update type, which was terminate member, when this action was performed, the status of the action, which is currently complete, as well as the information that was used regarding for this request. So we provided the name, the termination date of April 13th, 2023, the termination reason, health was selected at the time, and the specific RI member number that was used for this member in this case. Now, you might notice that there are a couple items here where something might have gone wrong. So for these two records, for example, they had some issues when a change was made to them. So this first record, they had a name change performed. The name of this individual's record was changed, and it had actually failed to process on Rotary's end due to an RI member ID mismatch. Now, whenever you see this error message, this is usually because the Rotary ID of the member is not listed in their Club Runner profile. Alternatively, this individual might not have been a member of the club in the first place. So if we go ahead and click on details, you can see that the individual's name was changed, but they do have a Rotary member, a Rotary number listed here. So to me, this indicates that this individual was not, at the time that this change was made, was not listed as a member of the club. So the change had failed to process because there was no active RI member ID associated with this member that was listed as a member of this club. And then another issue that you can run into is the one just below it, where a new member was added, but the error message came back, cannot add new member, and we received some additional information of possible duplicate individual, where you are then provided with another Rotary ID. If you ever see this sort of error message happen, this is because the member was added into Club Runner and it was attempted to be synchronized over to Rotary International. However, when Rotary adds a new member to their systems, they will first perform a check to see if there are any possible records for that member that already exist within their systems. This is so that they don't make any duplicate records within their systems. So one member will only have one record for themselves in Rotary systems. And now in this particular case, when this member was added to the club, Rotary actually found a record in their systems that potentially matched the information that you've given of this new member, and they believe that this is they already have a record for this individual. So what you could do is take this RI integration number, which you will find between the /U 0027, and you'll have this on both ends. So in between those two items, you will find the Rotary International number. So in this case, it is 11457968. And you can go ahead and just update that individual's profile to include that that RI member ID number. And then you can use the compare and synchronize page to resync them as a member of the club using the members missing an RI section. So this is a really good tool that you can take a look at to find exactly what's going on with your club's membership and the history of all of the changes that have been made. Now, if you wanted to filter this down just a little bit, you can either choose to type in an individual's name. So we can type in Martha to find any records associated with an individual that has the name Martha, which in this case, we only have the one for Martha Oracle here. You can also go through and select individual members that you have listed to find records specifically associated with the selected member. So if we go ahead and we find Martha Oracle here again, oh, we have a couple of deleted records. There we go, Martha Orico. We can go ahead and click on the show option, and that will refresh the page and only show records associated with the selected member. Now we can narrow this down even further and select a specific event type. So for example, if we want to find any history of an address change for our selected member, or or if we leave it as all members, it will find any address change for any member of the club. Let's go ahead and click show. I'm not sure if we have any here. Yeah, looks like we do. So Edic Bartel here had an address change on February 8th, 2023, and we can see exactly the details that had been changed. And we can do the exact same thing with any other type of change as well. So if you want to see when a birthday was updated, the classification, email, whether they were changed as an executive, whenever their membership type was changed, if they ever changed their name, whether they were terminated, any of this information, you can really easily look it all up as you see fit. Now, you might have also noticed that there is a date range here. So by default, this page will only show you information within the past 3 months. So right now it's set to January 16th, 2023 to April 16th, 2023. Sorry. Sorry about that. So we can go ahead, if we want to find information older than this, we can go ahead and we can go back as far as we like. So if we want to go back to, say, we want to go back to 2022, we want to see information that happened since January 1st, 2022 to the current date. We can go ahead and select the member to all members, all event types, just to see everything, or you can individually select the member and the event types to find specific information. And then we go ahead and click show. Now, once you've done that, the page will update and it will have updated to include all of the information within the timeline that you've selected. So now let's see, if we go ahead and double click on archive, you can see that we go back, and the earliest record in the settings that we found goes back to January 6th, 2022, which was a name change. Oh, sorry, give me one moment. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a quick cough and I didn't want to blow your eardrums out. So I just muted myself really quickly. So we have we can see all of this history for our club. So if you ever need to double check anything, if you have a discrepancy between some information that members are giving you, you can go here and use this kind of as a source of truth as to whether some changes were made or not. And you can see exactly who made those changes as well if you need that information too. Now, we also have the exact same archive available for you as for your club information as well. So if we go ahead and click on Club Updates Archive, you can see we have a history. We can see the history of any changes that were made to our club meeting information as well. So whether we've changed any meeting information, our mailing addresses, email, our contact information, any of that, we can come to this exact same tool, the Club Updates Archive, to find all that information as well. So I hope this was a really helpful. I hope it helped introduce a lot of you to the RI integration tools. We've pretty much gone over everything that you might need. Now, I did want to open up the floor to some questions, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invite Robin to unmute himself and come on camera, and we're going to go through some of the questions that you guys have been asking throughout the webinar, and we'll see if we can get some more information out there for you. So, Robin, did we get any questions?
Yes, we did. Thank you, Michael. So actually, one thing that Stacy actually mentioned, she just said the screen doesn't fit. Can we move it? Can we get to move left if possible? I think. Maybe
are you referring to? Oh, yeah. We can zoom out a little bit.
Maybe
Sorry if it was a little bit too big for me, but.
Cool, Stacy, if you could let us know if that's good or not. She just mentioned that the screen does not fit. Can we move it to the left? So let us know if that's
Yeah,
better or
I had
not.
wanted to zoom in to make sure that I know some people might have some trouble with some vision issues. So I wanted to make sure everything was blown up just a little bit. But if you are actively working on a regular size, everything should fit normally on the page as you see it does right now. The only reason why we had to scroll left and right in these archive sections is just because we were zoomed in.
Perfect. So Stacy says, no, it's not working. I cannot get the entire screen on the page on my computer either. Interesting. Stacy, I think what we're gonna have to do is I think we'll have to reach out tomorrow. Our support team will reach out to you because it seems like it is a specific user error. So we'll reach out tomorrow and then just try to get more details and try to resolve that issue with you. I've got your email. I already have it all listed though, so no problem there. We'll follow up. But in terms of questions, we actually had a few. Both Tara and Mirna actually had a question about the date joined rotary. Specifically, Tara mentioned that she noticed that the date joined rotary updated, but it was grayed out. So why was it off to begin with, and why did it automatically update?
Okay, I believe I know exactly what they're referring to in this case. When we were going through the RI member synchronization page, let me go ahead and let me click on one of these members here. So let's say Ricardo. We'll go ahead and see if they have the same issue. No, unfortunately not. But so their date join clubs information is all perfectly accurate. It's all matching up. But when we're going through these the compare and synchronize page, usually you're not actually able to go ahead and update the date join club on Rotary's end. I believe I mentioned this, but I didn't specify that clearly. I don't think I specified that very clearly. If the information for the date joined club or the date joined Rotary fields, there's a mismatch between the two. The only update that you can perform is to pull that information from Rotary International, since Rotary uses that date that Rotary has is used as the source of truth for the specific field. So you might have seen that the arrows here, they were grayed out, but they were also pointing to the left. So if you see something like that, that's because that information is locked at Rotary's end and it can't be updated by ClubRunner. So in that specific case with Cheryl, they had that information discrepancy for these two fields. And when that's the case, the date join club will automatically be selected and it will automatically go ahead and pull that information from Rotary into ClubRunner. Regardless of whether you've set the arrows or not, because you can't. It's always going to go ahead and do that. So that this date join clubs and Rotary sections is a little bit of a special case in that regard. You're not actually able to go through and pick which direction you want that to come in. It will always come from Rotary into Club. I hope that was able to answer their questions.
Perfect. So another one, actually, I think it just kind of ties to the previous question. Mirna asked, the date joined Rotary was changed for Cheryl. It was when you're making the updates to Cheryl's profile. So she asked why.
Yeah, for the exact same reason. Whenever you go through and you're making these changes, the date join club is the Rotary National's information is used as the source of truth. I believe I'm not sure if there was some information regarding. I'm not sure if these questions are asking for the exact same thing or not. But whenever you go through and you use this compare and synchronize tool to update your profile, provided all the information on Rotary systems will be sent over to ClubRunner for the date join club and date join Rotary. It's just that one way. It can't go from ClubRunner to Rotary, for example.
Perfect. And I think just to kind of follow up on what Michael says, if anyone ever has a question of, oh, why is this date appearing, just feel free to reach out to us and we could, I think we might be able to give a bit more clarification onto those dates for you as well. So thank you for your question, Marina. Next, Lloyd's question was, he mentioned that if the RI integration was already selected earlier in the webinar, how/why do any data discrepancies exist? It does kind of tie into what you just mentioned previously as well. But
so even if you have RI integration enabled for your club, data discrepancies can still exist for your system depending on how information was processed between the two systems. So for example, you make an update in ClubRunner, but that information doesn't get sent over to Rotary International, and that causes a discrepancy. That can be for a number of different reasons. For example, when we were looking at the member updates archive, there was a handful of issues like the RI member ID mismatch. I know in that specific case, that individual is not listed as a member of the club, but there are cases where the RI member ID for a member might just not have been added to that person's profile. So whenever you make a change to that individual's record in ClubRunner, it's not actually able to go over to Rotary International because it needs that Rotary ID number in order to make that connection between the record in ClubRunner and the record at Rotary International. And the same can go vice versa. It is important to note that if an update is made in Rotary systems and not ClubRunner, that information actually won't be pulled automatically from Rotary International to ClubRunner. It's not an automatic communication in that front. If you make a change in Rotary systems, you have to actually come to this compare and synchronize page and pull that information using the tool into ClubRunner in order to fix that mismatch. So we'll actually usually recommend that any changes to your membership is actually performed in ClubRunner first. That way you can allow ClubRunner, you can enter in all the information into ClubRunner, and you will allow the ClubRunner systems to go ahead and perform those changes in Rotary's databases as well. So that way everything is matching up. If you make a change in Rotary systems, it won't automatically be pulled over into.
Perfect. Great. So just the last question we had here. I could have answered it myself, but I thought it'd be just good to just kind of discuss with everybody. But can a member be registered in 2 different clubs or club runners?
So that is a very good question. By Rotary standards, you can only be an active member of a single club at a time. Now, you can be an honorary member of a club and an active member of another one. But you can only be an official active member of a single Rotary club at one time. So to answer your question, in the specific case of being an active member, no, you would not be able to. But if you were added, you are an active member of a Rotary club, and you were added as an honorary member of another Rotary club, they will actually be able to add you as what's called an other user record, which is a little bit outside the scope of this webinar, so I'm not going to go too in depth into it, unfortunately. But it will allow you to log into their club website or the district website as that honorary member. So you'll be able to interact with the club however they allow you to. Yeah, I hope that was able to answer the question.
Perfect. Thank you. Just a couple last questions here. When a member appears in the members missing an RI section of the compare and sync page, how does it work when a member is outside of the 30-day period?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that we did cover during the webinar. And I mentioned this as well. The Rotary International requires that any new members or any changes to a member's status to be reported to them within a period of 30 days. Now, if you fall into the situation where you have a member in ClubRunner, but they haven't been added to Rotary International quite yet, and you click on that add member to RI button, or a link, I should say, and you get that outside of 30 days error message, you will then have to go to that member's profile, update the date joined club under the Rotary tab of their profile to a date within 30 days, and then you'll be able to come back and use the compare and synchronize page to synchronize their information over to Rotary. Now, if you want to make sure, now when you do that, you're obviously updating that date, so they will, so their membership will start as of that new date that you've entered. If you want to be able to backdate that just a little bit to the original date, you can then reach out to the Rotary data corrections team, who will then be able to go through and update that date for the member in specific. So you can contact them at data@rotary.org, And I'm actually going to send that into the webinar chat really quickly. Give me 1 second here. There you go. So I've added that email to the webinar chat here.
Perfect. Thanks. Just got a question from Diane. How do I change a chair position and that is incorrect?
So I'm assuming you're is Diane referring to the individual executive that's sitting as the chair, or the information, or like the actual the position name or anything like that?
I think it's the first one.
First?
Diane, if you're able to clarify if we are discussing the wrong thing, please let us know.
The end date?
End date. Okay.
That's a good question. So this can usually happen. Sometimes whenever you're synchronizing some information. If you do see that the chair position is wrong, usually everything should be entered correctly. If you do see that it's wrong, we would usually recommend reaching out to our support team. We can take a little bit of a further in-depth look at it. Diane, we'll go ahead and we'll reach out to you directly to see if we can take a look at that later on.
Perfect. All right, and just one last question from the Rotary bills. Sorry, good Lord. Rotary bills clubs twice a year for membership dues, July 1st and Jan 1st. Does Club Runner system interface with this system?
So to add a little bit of information onto this, yes, twice a year, Rotary will bill clubs for their membership dues throughout the year. This information, while everything is updated in Club Runner, is also sent over to Rotary International. You can use Club Runner to make sure that all of your information is up to date. But for the sake of the billing dates and to make sure that everything is good to go and everything is accurate, we always recommend that as those billing dates approach, that you log in directly to My Rotary and review your membership with Rotary International directly, as they are considered the source of truth in the matter. So just because you have some information in Club Runner that is listed here that may not have necessarily been able to make its way over to Rotary International, that information will not be included within the final bill. Everything that is billed to the club is based off of the information that Club Runner had, or sorry, not Club Runner, that Rotary International has on the club. So while RI integration will make sure, or will help to make sure all of this information is synchronized between these two systems and that everything is matching up, it's always good to do your final confirmation directly with Rotary International themselves.
Perfect.
I hope that was able to be to answer that question for you guys.
Great, thank you, everybody. So that seems like we've reached the end. There's no more questions. Does anybody have anything else pressing that you want to last minute get through to the Michael and I?
I don't see any other questions coming in quite yet.
No, I actually saw a couple people leave, so if anything, that might be a good indicator.
So with all that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar here. Before you guys get going, I did want to show off a couple of different websites that we have available for you. One is the clubrunnersupport.com knowledge base. So that's clubrunnersupport.com. Robin, if you can post that in the chat, that would be great. This is our a big website that we have that's filled with hundreds and hundreds of different support articles that will help guide you through the different sections of Club Runner. We have a bunch of different guides that are available here, as well as video tutorials. So if any of you are more visual learners, I would recommend checking those out. And if there are any news updates to the Club Runner platform, whether there's any issues that are ongoing, any office closures, or any new features that are being released, we will also post about that here as well. And the very last thing that I did want to show off to you guys is the Club Runner community. This is another website that we run where you'll be able to log in with the exact same information that you use to log into your club's website. And it is a big community forum that you can use to get in contact with other clubs or other individuals that make use of Club Runner. So you can come in here, have a good discussion with some other Rotarians or other Club Runner users you can go ahead and leave feedback or suggestions for our team, whether there be any sort of features or things that you want to see changed about the platform, as well as things like best practices, and some other and a whole bunch of other topics that you can take a look at here. So I do recommend highly that you guys, if you have any leftover questions that we might not have been able to get to or that we didn't answer during the webinar, you can go to the support website as well as the Club Runner community, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some additional help there as well. And of course, if you ever did want to contact myself, Robin, or any of our other support colleagues as well, you can always come to the Club Runner support website that we have here. And in the top right corner, you can go ahead and click on Contact Us. And this will bring up a form that you can use to enter in your own details and contact information. And you can send us an email regarding any issues that you might be running into, or any questions that you might have. And we'll usually get back to you within 24 hours of the email being sent out. So if you do run into any other issues, or if you have any questions that we might not have been able to get to and we didn't reach back out to you to let you know, you can always come here and you can reach back out to us directly, and we'll be glad to help further. So thank you everyone very much for joining the webinar today. That's just about everything from us for now, and I hope it was very helpful and a lot of information was learned. All right. Have a good weekend, everyone. Take care.
Bye, bro.